Architect Theodate Pope Riddle, her life and work. Born in 1867, she grew up in an age when proper young ladies became Victorian matrons, and any suggestion of a career was looked upon as shocking. In the 19th century, architecture was a gentleman's profession practiced after attending classes in engineering, design and draftsmanship, and serving an apprenticeship with an architectural firm. Within this context, Theodate Pope Riddle's achievements are indeed exceptional. A practicing architect for over 30 years, she maintained offices in New York City and Connecticut, undertook projects ranging from workers' housing to the reconstruction of a president's birthplace, to planning education complexes, and was finally elected a member of the American Institute of Architects in 1918. Born as architect, Riddle was born Effie Pope, the only child of Alfred and Ada Pope, of Cleveland, Ohio. Her mother was a popular Cleveland hostess, her father, a steel magnate, amassed an outstanding collection of Impressionist art. Their daughter was a short, plump, shy girl who, unlike her mother, felt extremely awkward in social situations, according to one of Theodate's biographers. She was very lonely, but as a result she developed the self-reliance which allowed her to act decisively without first seeking approval from others. For example, as an adolescent, deciding the name, Effie, lacked dignity. She answered only to her grandmother's name, Theodate, which means, gift of God. From an early age she loved to draw buildings and her ambition was to be an architect. In 1886, she was sent to Miss Porter's school in Farmington, Connecticut, which was to have a profound effect on her life. Farmington, which contained some of the oldest homes in Connecticut, was a symbol of the quaint New England village. Farmington appealed to Riddle precisely because it represented America's colonial past, an architectural heritage popularized by the Philadelphia Centennial of 1876. For the first time, Theodate could visualize an alternative to crowded, industrial Cleveland. 2 years later, her graduation gift was the European Grand Tour. Riddle devoted much of young life to social reform. She worked in Lillian Wald's Henry Street Settlement House, volunteered at the New York Psychiatric Institute, became an enthusiastic suffragette, and much to her father's dismay, even flirted with the Socialist Party. Architecture. From the first building Riddle restored, her own cottage in 1890, both authenticity and effect were important concerns. Hillstead in Farmington, Connecticut, her first major work, reflects her interest in the forms and traditions of the past. The front facade was inspired by George Washington's home, Mount Vernon, then considered our most sacred architectural relic. Although Stanford White is credited as Hillstead's architect, it is impossible to separate Theodate's contribution to the project. Hillstead was also her first opportunity to supervise construction and to use the traditional building methods with which she had become familiar while restoring her cottage. As one worker recalled, here Theodate's great and lifelong interest in old-fashioned methods dictated the use of such things as pegs rather than nails and handmade shingles. The 33,000 square foot, 1901 Colonial Revival Mansion has welcomed more than 1 million visitors since opening to the public in 1947. Hillstead, considered perhaps the finest colonial revival house and museum in the United States, according to one National Landmark Commission report, houses some of the most important Impressionist paintings in the world, including works by Mary Cassatt, Edgar Degas, Edward Manet, Claude Monet, and James McNeill Whistler. Riddle designed all her projects between the turn of the century to 1930. At times she maintained an office in New York City, although much of her work continued to be done at Underledge, a late 19th century house located on the Hillstead property in Farmington. In addition to designing cottages, schools and larger homes, from 1906 to 1909 she worked on the Westover School project in Middlebury, Connecticut, which she planned for her close friend Mary Hillard, who became headmistress. Today, the Westover School still exists as an independent college preparatory day and boarding school for girls. On May 7, 1915, the RMS Lusitania, a British ocean liner, was sunk by a German U-boat, 11 miles off the southern coast of Ireland, killing 1,198 passengers and crew. Among the survivors was Theodate, who was pulled from the Irish Sea with boathooks. Theodore Roosevelt Birthplace Reconstruction. After Theodore Roosevelt died in 1919, the Woman's Roosevelt Memorial Association was formed for the purpose of honoring his memory. The association decided to rebuild what had been TR's boyhood home. To read more, visit Brian D'Ambrosio's Substack.